Travis Wayne Goodsell. There's several videos that I've got lined up to do, but I'm probably only going to do this one. So I'm not likely to talk about today about the Shanghai Mormons lockdown, or Book of Mormon prophesies about the Ukrainian World War III. It's in the Book of Mormon, not just Ezekiel 38. I've talked about it, but the videos are probably the long videos, and most people can't endure to the end of my videos. But this one, those of you who watched my Bill Maher video Saturday morning, did you see how certain things around the world are being controlled by psychologists? Did you notice it at the Oscars? Did you notice it in Ukraine? Did you notice it about the president? Psychologists are the ones in charge of running the human experimentation of mass brainwashing, and they're taking advantage of social media, as YouTube and Facebook, Twitter, and whatever other thing there is, are all contributing to the mass brainwashing efforts of psychologists. And it began for the social media stuff when the internet emerged and people were allowed to rank products sold at stores, or the stores themselves, rank customer service. Now that had been done previously to the computer, as certain businesses would want good reviews and ratings. The BBB, Better Business Bureau, would rate companies, and it was intended for companies and for products from those companies. It was never intended to go after humans, to target humans, to attack humans. And so as the internet comes around, you now rank, 5-star hotels, and Trivago, and other such companies that are wanting, make sure to give us 5 stars for our service. Yeah, people are getting desperate for company reviews because that drives business. Whereas when people see low ratings, people are then programmed to not want to pursue those companies or those products. And then social media came along, and all of a sudden humans are now being judged and ranked for being themselves. And so people, instead, not wanting to be judged harshly, not wanting to be condemned and laughed at. Remember who didn't get mentioned with the Oscars last night? Nobody interviewed her. Nobody interviewed the kids. Kids have to go to school and meet their peers. Millions watch the Oscars, and everybody's focused on making sure that Will Smith apologizes, huh? That is the deadly danger of psychologists. That a man can no longer defend the honor of his wife in public when she is publicly shamed. made a mockery of. You don't see Chris Rock apologizing. I never saw a news report saying Chris Rock apologizes or Chris Rock should have apologized. This whole behavioral system goes back a long ways, but for us, most of us can recognize the British version called etiquette. The British monarchy chose to distinguish themselves from the commoners by creating an ethical rule system of behavior and manners and proper etiquette for use in daily life. And so using silverware and napkins, and that was all creation of the monarchy to set apart the monarchy from the commoners. And it got carried into the culture as a result. So the commoners who didn't want to be common were pressured into using etiquette and cultural rules and norms. More recently, you recognize it as political correctness and cancel culture. This is all psychological manipulations, doing human experimentations to destroy and cause harm. Wars have broken out because of it. All because of psychological manipulation. And so with the Me Too movement, that was driven by psychologists. And then what did you see happen? Oh, men started coming out and saying Me Too. And then you see others make false accusations of Me Too. People's lives get ruined and destroyed because of the social media judging rather than the court judging with false accusations. And then Jussie Smollett ruined it. And then it ended it right then and there. He was finally sentenced to, what was it, 150 days? For what he did. That was the Me Too movement that stopped it. And then the Black Lives Matter movement, that was also driven by psychologists. And then what did you see happen? Oh, people trashing stores who are not part of the movement. And then you get the leaders of our governments, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, condemning the Black Lives Matter movement. And they got silenced. Now, this is all part of the psychological manipulation. Victimizing victims. And then with the cancel culture, judgment becomes a popular opinion rather than a court process, where cancel culture demands people apologize. So yes, not only the Oscars last night, not only the president, not only Zelensky, but you have other instances of the Karen movement. That was an attempt to shut down cancel culture. And it took getting Karens locked up in prison for making false arrests or false claims to the cops. That hopefully that got shut down. I haven't heard much about that lately. But now you're seeing cancel culture morph into what happened last night with the Oscars. A victim blaming and a demand that the victim apologize to the bully, to the abuser. Can you imagine that with the women's Me Too movement? Cancel culture demanding that women apologize to their abusers? Can you imagine Black Lives? Oh yeah, it did happen there too, didn't it? Blacks were told to apologize for their movement. This is all psychologists that are behind all this. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints knows about this too. Oh yeah, I was supposed to talk about this first. Now I've lost my audience. So apparently today's sign in the heavens is just that. So again, we have to wait for the fulfillment of the fall of the great and abominable church. There is another fall coming on Sunday, a sign in the heavens. I don't know if anybody would be interested, but it has to do with Abraham sacrificing Isaac as a sign in the heaven. Just saying. And it's on Conference Sunday. Just saying. But without the fulfillment, I really don't care. But in 3rd Nephi chapter 8, and Mormons began to look with great earnestness for the sign which had been given by the prophet Travis, the Lamanite, yea, for the time where there should be darkness for the space of 3 days over the face of the land. That's the 3 solar eclipses for the latter days, guys. And there began to be great doubtings and disputations among the Mormons on his channel, notwithstanding so many signs had been given. So there you go. Meant to be first, ended up being 11 minutes in. So this part that I will be going over is about how the church uses mental brainwashing, manipulation, to fool Mormons into thinking we're Christian. Do I need to pause for effect? Do I need to get you to go, wait a minute, no, we are Christian. What are you talking about? Jesus is our Christ. You've been brainwashed. 1 Nephi chapter 1, verse 2. Remember, the Book of Mormon is the keystone of our doctrine, of our religion, of Mormonism. Yea, I make a record in the language of my father. So the Book of Mormon, the keystone, is in the language of, says Nephi, or Lehi, which consists of the learning of the Jews and the language of the Egyptians. The church doesn't want you to know this. In their manual, I went over it with you. Your CES manual, your Sunday school manual, nope, it's gone. They focus on language of the Egyptians instead. They will not talk about the learning of the Jews. For the Old Testament this year, which, learning of the Jews, you'd think, nope, they throw in Jesus, and for Conference Sunday, they have the lesson instead of conference, weekend off. Nope. The lesson for this Sunday for conference is the Exodus. The main story of Mormonism that is referred to repeatedly throughout all scriptures. It is the main focus of the learning of the Jews. It is Mormon focus. The number one lesson of Mormonism. And the church purposely won't cover it for you. And you guys are clueless about what the church is doing to you until you watch my videos. And then there's doubtings and disputations, despite the many signs. And so what is the learning of the Jews regarding the Christ? Bloodline. Mortal seed. Descendant. Human descendant. And I can take you to the Joseph Smith translation of selections from the book of Moses. 753. Yep. And the Lord said, "Blessed is he through whose seed." Do you know why it's not she? So why are everybody focused on Mary? She doesn't have seed. Blessed is he through whose seed Messiah shall come. Now go back to Matthew chapter 1 and look for the genealogy of Jesus. You're not going to find it. It's Joseph's genealogy. And they don't even call him Amen. They call him Jesus instead. It's because it's not history. It's apocalyptic literature. And so, who is the big Messiah of the Jews? Well, yeah, Exodus, Moses. And the man like Moses that Moses, author, tells us about in Deuteronomy chapter 18, which Joseph Smith is all over. Verse 15, "The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren." Human, through seed. And that's why the Genesis stories are all about the seed and the usurpation of the seed. That's why Jacob is named Israel. It's not about let God prevail. It's about Yah, Prince of God. Princes are heirs to kingdoms. Princes become kings. And king is a Christ, because they're anointed. That is the learning of the Jews. And so, as we were all born and raised into brainwashing and indoctrination, to go on our missions and tell people, hey, Joseph Smith is Christian, and we believe in Jesus as our Christ. We read to them from the Joseph Smith history about the first vision, which was written in 1838. And Joseph Smith, let me read that first. "Owing to the many reports which have been put in circulation by evil-disposed and designing persons in relation to the rise and progress of the Church of Christ," we're going to check. Even though it's 20 minutes into the video, we're going to check. various accounts of the first vision. That's not what we're interested in. Podcast. I don't want a podcast. I don't want an article. I want the actual one. Okay. There's 1832. And you notice that there are two individuals. Joseph is not speaking to the church. Pay attention to that, rather than say, see? They just have a link to it. And it's the church's site? Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. This is the actual original document before Willard Richards, the man who shot Joseph in the back at Carthage jail, tampered with it under orders of Brigham Young. Owing to the many reports which have been put in circulation by evil-disposed and designing persons in relation to the rise and progress of the Church of Latter-day Saints. That was changed by vote in a leadership meeting in 1834. Notice somebody's missing. So, yeah. 17 lines blank. I should probably refer to this. I already have it, I'm pretty sure, but I probably should do a copy and paste of this anyway. Okay. During the space. Arms were bare, that's... Wait a minute. Okay, here we go. Let's see. A pillar of light exactly above my head, above the brightness of the sun, descended gradually until it fell upon me. No sooner appeared than I found myself delivered from the enemy which held me bound. Now pay attention again. Listen for what isn't here. And yet we all have been brainwashed to tell people is here. When the light rested upon me, I saw two personages, whose brightness and glory defy all description, standing above me in the air. One of them spake unto me, calling me by name, and said, pointing to the other, This is my beloved Son, hear him. No name? My object in going to inquire of the Lord was to know which was all right. I was told that I should join none of them. None of them. For they were all wrong. Why are we going around telling people we're Christian when Christianity is wrong in our view? What happened? Well, there was a cancel culture that occurred, and Mormons were shamed for calling Christianity wrong, as they went on a crusade to tell us that we were wrong. Victim blaming in both directions. But here's the thing that Christians lose the war. as Mormons get exposed as being brainwashed. The personage who addressed me said that all their creeds were an abomination in his sight. And so as good Mormons, you do research on the scriptures, you study your scriptures, and so you look up what the Christian creeds are and find the first Christian creed that started them all, Emperor Constantine of 325 CE, the Nicene Creed from the Nicene Council. And then you read it, and you know Greek so that you can verify that whatever that crap word is wrong, because Constantine made it all up. But he chose, out of all the apocalyptic character heroes. Apocalyptic, if you don't know, means revelation. Book of Revelations, not a real book, it's apocalyptic. It's last days prophecy. So, not dragons, serpents, beasts, flying horses, Jesus, Armageddon, Jerusalem, none of those are the real thing that he's talking about. It is all coded. Learning of the Jews. And so what Constantine did was gather all the separated bishops who had their own beliefs, adopted their own gospel narrative, which was not a gospel, it was apocalyptic literature. And there were some who had Hercules, some who had Perseus, for example. Those were rejected. Samson, rejected. Joseph of Egypt, rejected. Moses, rejected. Constantine chose Jesus. Constantine would then go into Israel and say, that's where Jesus was born, that's where, he did this, that's where he did that, that's where he was crucified, that's where in the Garden of Gethsemane, that's the tomb, etc. Constantine did that. Because he created Jesus as a real historical character. And see what kind of brainwashing that caused on mankind for 2,000 years. That is why we call Christianity an abomination. Because they are lying and deceiving the people. And look at how many holy wars have been caused. When you have a false god at the head of your religion. And so people can be good, but they're not good if they're telling people to have faith in somebody who doesn't exist. That's a false hope. That's what psychologists do. They take you in their office when you've been a victim of abuse or crime, and tell you to cope with it, rather than the justice system doing the right thing and actually prosecuting the criminals, so that the victims get relief. And so I'll do that after I do this. So in the Doctrine and Covenants, we are told that we are waiting for the fall of the great and abominable church. We are waiting for the Exodus that will come as a consequence of the fall. And we are waiting to build Zion after the Exodus occurs. The redemption of Zion must needs come by power. Section 103, verse 15, and now 16. Therefore, straight from Deuteronomy, and from Jeremiah, and from Acts, and from Joseph Smith history, etc., etc., etc. Therefore, I will raise up unto my people a man who shall lead them like as Moses led the children of Israel. For you are in bondage, and you must be led out of bondage. Because we're in the great and abominable church. Let's go down to that Acts passage. Okay. I quoted Malachi, burn as an oven, coming of Elijah. Here it is. He quoted also the 3rd chapter of Acts. That's the Deuteronomy passage of Moses. He refers to that rather than to the other Old Testament passages that he gives, because there's something different there. Yeah, they use cut off still here. Interesting. It's not cut off in Acts, at least our Acts. It's destroyed. But he said that prophet was Christ, a mortal man, the Holy Grail, the Lamb, is the Christ of Mormons. He's Mormon. I just read it to you from section 103. Raised up unto my people. That's the Mormons. He's supposed to free Mormons from bondage of the great and abominable church. The great and abominable church has to fall. That's why I'm covering this over and over and over and over again. And it pisses off the church. They want me dead. Literally, they want me assassinated because they can't silence me. It's failing so far. You guys have no clue how vital the information is in my videos. But, yeah, the church literally brainwashed us to believe that Joseph Smith is a Christian and that Jesus Christ is our Christ, when we are told that's an abomination because of Constantine. This is brainwashing at its worst. The church has turned Joseph Smith into a Christian and a worshiper of Constantine's Jesus, though we have one of the other rejections at the Nicene Creed Council. Because yes, Mary impregnated from Heavenly Father, that was one of them. That's ours. Separate personages, that was one of them, and it was rejected. And don't start thinking, oh, well, that means it's true. You were missing the whole point. Jesus was never true. It was the concept, and it was apocalyptic literature from the concept. It was prophecy. And what happens when you go through the temple initiatories? Oh, king, queen. Oh, both men and women become Christ. And then what do men and women do? Oh, they're sealed in the temple? For what? For tax purposes? No, to have kids born in the covenant. For what purpose? The Holy Grail.